What is up, everybody? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. I'm going to get started a little bit early because I'm going to use you guys. Welcome. It's Saturday night. Woo! Is today Saturday night? This is like a rarity here. Saturday nights. Figure you guys have already gone out and had your beverages. This episode titled Idaho4 Trash Pull at Kohberger's parents' house, 11/27/2022. I've been doing lots of editing. Shoot me. I fucking hate editing. But it's for a great cause. You guys are going to help me out though. So I have a couple questions. Number one, if anybody in the house knows what the welfare check was about and has FOIA'd this welfare check that happened on 11/21/2022, if you know off the top of your head, it found its way into the lovely, narrative here. The Moscow, like this is of page 1. It has a list of all of the exhibits when I shouldn't say exhibits, but evidence log. So does anybody knows about this welfare check? It got put in with the case right there. Welfare check 11/21. Better. Let's go a little deeper here. Again, it's if we have it, I don't want to FOIA it. So let me know. Okay. This was on 11/21/2022. Let me know. Okay, next. Who the fuck is Connor Chestnut? Who the fuck is Connor Chestnut? Let me know if you know in the comment section. Oh, shit. Let's talk about our first responders really quick. Just want to make sure we all aware of some stuff here. These are the first responding officers at 1122 King Road, crime scene, Shane Gunderson. He graduated from Post in 2013, okay, and has been with Moscow ever since. Now, we want to make sure that we get this clarified here. It is actually on Gunderson's body cam that the SD card, that little tiny SD card, is transferred hands. It's the video that is 4 minutes and 23 seconds. My problem with that is Gunderson makes no mention of that in his report. As you will see, that is my number one problem with Mr. Gunderson's report. So is on page 29 of the 20, or page 28 out of 29. The issue I have is going to be right here at the bottom. You should hear him talk about how he took the SD card, and he does not. Okay. Also, I want to point out, since we just talked about it yesterday, made some notes for you guys. We're going to go a little bit bigger here. I'll back out. And let's talk about what also Gunderson did not talk about. Okay. First of all, he did not interview the large group of individuals at the scene. Officer Nunes, also, he's no longer an officer, just making sure everybody knows that. But there is no canvas notes, okay, talking about there's no, a guy went hunting at 5 a.m. There is no panties in the road, 2 pairs. There is no, hey, it's normally packed with cars, and it wasn't last night. There is no mention of the SD card. There is no mention about the gunshots. Somebody talking about, oh, my sister told me about gunshots, and just like, what? And then there's no neighborhood canvassing of, hey, these are the cars that are in the parking lot, and these are the license plate numbers. Okay, so those are the things that you should be expecting to see. We just watched on his body cam, so at the very least, he could just watch his own body cam and remember what he did. No mention of fiddlesticks. Okay, fiddlesticks does not get a hello. All right. So going back here, let's just remind ourselves that Gunderson was also involved in Stickergate. And the only thing I want to talk about Stickergate is just for 1 second, which is Gunderson was actually the whistleblower in Stickergate. What I mean by that is that there was 3 responding officers to Stickergate: Jay Waters, Mitch Noons, and Gunderson. And I want to say it was Jay Waters' dash cam that recorded the event. Well, we know that their dash cams also have audio. And so for the whole year after the arrest of the family over there, the Christchurch people, Nathan, for a whole year they acted like there was no recording, there was no anything about this incident. And it was actually Gunderson who actually leaked it out that, oh yeah, there's definitely video of it. And so that would put Mitch Noons and Jay Waters on the hot seat then, because neither one of them came forward to talk about it. And they more or less just kept their mouth shut, and they let it be buried. So these are really important. So if you're Ann Taylor and you actually deep dived that case, I would be using that to my advantage when I'd be talking about something to do with, like, they use Mitch's body cam, supposedly, the state does, to get the still image of the sheath. Okay. So I would definitely be bringing up what happened with Stickergate, because it has everything to do with body cams and dash cams and burying the shit and acting like nothing was caught. And the people that were actually pushing that narrative was also the prosecution. So, but wanted to clear everything up here and to say that Stickergate. Then we're going to come back over here to Ryan Snyder. Again, Noonan's joined in 2020, so he was like super, super new. I have him not even being a cop anymore. Like, not even like in a different state. If somebody else has information on that, I would love to see it. Ryan Snyder started in 2016 with the department, then became a canine officer in 2022 in May, and was pushing now into 2025 here. They have like a canine, like full-fledged like unit. Like, they are hunting for fentanyl. And it's like, if there's no drug problems at the University of Idaho, why do you need all that? Bunch of new articles. You guys go check it out. Corbin Smith joined in 2020. So we have 2 2020 people. Gunderson been around the block. And in fact, Gunderson in 2016, he was the student resource officer. And that's when, like, Emma Bailey and them went to school there. So, like, he would know these peeps. When I say the school resource officer, that's the high school. Now, Corbin Smith. Well, let me back up. Let me go back to Mitch. I think that's who I go to next year. Well, no, it's Corbin Smith. Okay. So Corbin Smith, I'm going to tell you what I would be hammering if I was Ann Taylor, if I was expected to bring up on cross-examination some stuff. we have an issue with Corbin Smith. The issue with Corbin Smith is you were pointing out that you saw blood in the sink in the kitchen. Do you recall that? And then I would show the body cam if you did not. There's no mention about blood in the sink of the kitchen. So where are those pictures at as well? Because they're not there either. And then there's no mention in his report about the blood that's dripping on the outside of the house, which you would think is kind of like a big deal. So that's my issue there with Corbin Smith. Next, my issue with Warner. If you go to Warner, he's down here. Officer Warner here. He was at the front door. So you have Eric Warner was at the front door. Corbin Smith was at the back door. Ryan Snyder. And then I personally believe that this is not a picture of him, actually. And I'm going to go look and see because I think, or this is just a really weird angle. But I'm going to go grab a different photo from when ISP actually arrives. And I'm going to use Warner's camera to get that photo. This is from Gunderson's camera. And I think it might not even be him. Anyways, so Ryan Snyder's the guy that roped the house off with the tape, went around taking all the pictures in the house and all around. Obviously, Gunderson, we know who he is. And then Mitch was your boy taking the interviews of Dylan and Bethany. First arriving. So Eric over here, Warner, he was the second arriving officer. And he talked to Hunter Johnson. And also he was obviously in the house and he stayed at the front door. He also was holding Murphy. These are my issues with Warner's report. First issue is on the body cam, Hunter said he grabbed the knife because he didn't know if anyone was in the bedroom, meaning Xana's, prior to entering it. That's why he grabbed a knife. I don't know who would ever go into Xana's bedroom, then leave Xana's bedroom, then go get a knife to then re-enter the bedroom. But anyways, also the knife is not on the table, on the pong table, and then it appears, and you can also tell that in the body cam. So pointing out what is said by Waters that I have an issue with is Johnson said he saw the female on the floor in the bedroom and did not see the male on the bed, who he identifies as Ethan, before grabbing the knife. Now, this is totally different, right? Because remember, guys, we don't have this from him interviewing him outside the house because it was all heavily redacted, if you recall. Again, working on that right now. We're working on that because that should not be like that. But he then says, Johnson said that he entered the bedroom and checked the female's pulse and found none. Johnson said that he did not check Ethan's and left the home. Yeah. No mention about the fact that when I first came in there was no knife on the ping pong table, right? Beer pong table, right? Then, because if you're looking at your body cam to like help with your notes, then it just appears. That would be suspicious in nature and you'd be writing that down. Why these people aren't, have no idea. I could say more about Eric Warner, but he's just, I call him hot hands. Okay. The issues I have with Noonan's report that he wrote up, this is report number 3 in the supplementals. And just reminding you guys, Noonan's, he had issues with Stickergate. He kept quiet about the audio and video on the dash cam, and he is no longer a cop. So keep that in mind. The issues I have with this is saying that. So let's go talk. We're going to focus on Dylan's statements, okay, and Bethany's statements. Dylan's are interesting because, where is it? Right? Is it right here? Okay, yeah, it's right here. I walked inside and began interviewing. So Dylan told me at approximately 4, she heard a voice scream and believed it to be Kaylee's. So I have a problem with all of this at the beginning. No, she said that she was awake, okay, and that Kaylee was dancing with the dog on the first level or like on the main level. And when Kaylee went upstairs to go to bed at around 4 o'clock, that's when she decided that, okay, it's time for me to go to bed. Okay. Um, so whatever. Uh, then basically I have a problem with finding out how much time would have elapsed. Like, so she just goes right upstairs and that's when it's like, oh my God, there's somebody here type of thing. Um, so he doesn't really get that right, or he doesn't clarify that. And she said that she could hear Keely run from the third floor down the stairs to her bedroom and then continue to hear a commotion. Okay. I don't ever recall Dylan saying the word commotion, but whatever. Dylan said that she eventually stopped hearing a struggle and heard a male voice say, you know, you're gonna be fine. I'm here to help. But that's not what she said. Dylan said that she did not recognize the male's voice. Dylan said after approximately he was 6 feet tall, slim built, with black ski mask or black mask rather, and then he left this second floor patio area. This patio door was likely left open as it was found open upon my arrival. Um, sure. Well, let's go to Bethany's. Neither one of these people talk about like he doesn't ask anything important. Like, hey, how about this, buddy? Ready for this? Um, you're here at noon, not at 4 o'clock in the morning. Do you maybe want to ask why you're here at noon? Why is this call at 11:56? Not at 4:30, 4 o'clock. Nope. I guess it's just not important. I can tell you what. I give him props though. He's not a cop anymore. I think he probably is like, dude, this is just not me. This is just not for me. Um, Bethany. Bethany says that she called every single person except for Dylan, even though when she woke up to the firecracker, her first call was Dylan. So let's just remind ourselves. Okay. And what he puts in the report is that basically Bethany, when she wakes up at 11:56, that's basically when she's calling 911. Awesome. Bethany is asleep until 11:56 a.m. Well, that's not what the steps on the phone are going to say. And Mitch. Ryan Snyder. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Why, now that we know way more than we did 3 weeks ago, we can ask ourselves a very important question, which would be this. Mr. Snyder, were you handed the SD card while you were at 1112 King Road? Because I'm so confused now. Let me show you why. I spoke with the residents at 1112 King Road, who informed me they had a camera facing the west of their address, and they believe it captured a portion of the road. They first provided me with the SIM card. When did that happen? That's why when everybody's like, "Hey, Lana, you need to watch Gunderson's camera. He gets the fucking SD card." I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, fuck no, he didn't. Not according to Snyder over here, who's saying that he got the SD card. But he's like, they first provided me with the SD card of the camera. Huh. Well, when was this? However, he says, they could not get it to work. How did you want them to get it to work? No, maybe they wrote the reports. They did right. These reports are actually written the day of. This report right here is written the day of. This report's written the day of. I would be happy to say that would be the reason. No, that's not the reason. So my question is how could you tell if the SD card worked or not? Now, do you guys remember? I can replay the 4 minutes and 36 seconds to refresh everybody's memory of how this went down. But Gunderson is talking to a lady first, and then an officer walks over, and then all of a sudden, two people from the house, 1112, come out, and they hand him like the tiniest little to Gunderson. So Gunderson doesn't talk about this SD card at all. Snyder kept going back and forth to that house, but at no time on any of the body cams does he ever get it. He does not get the SD card. And in fact, when Gunderson receives the SD card, he mentions how tiny it is. He's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Like, okay, he opens up his cruiser and puts it on some, I don't even know where the fuck he puts it. It's just, okay. So there's so many questions with this SD card, which has to go with like chain of custody. Because you have Snyder saying he got the SD card, but we have actually proof in a body cam that Gunderson was handed this SD card. So I just have questions of which is, what time was this that I spoke with the resident? Like, you would, hey, I'm going to recollect your memory. Go ahead and read this paragraph. Does that refresh your memory at all? Okay, yeah. Okay, I want you to break down some times with me here. Okay, so all I would ask this witness to do is break down these times with me. Is just to say, hey, when did this occur that you talked to 1112 to say, hey, we have an SD card? Okay. We noticed that you were going back and forth a couple different times. Did you physically get an SD card from them at some point? And how would you know if you could get something to work or if you couldn't get something to work? Because that's where I'm confused, because you would need to put the SD card into something to actually get it to work, to like see if it works. I don't understand. So did you leave the area? Go to the Moscow Police Department? Can you please tell us how this all transpired, that you talked with them and you guys tried this out and you guys realized that, well, they first provided me with the SIM card of the camera. However, they could not get it to work and neither could I. They gave me the username and that password to the camera. I informed Detective Mowry. Okay, perfect. When did you do that? What did you do with the SD card? Do you understand how none of this makes any sense? Because I'm going to explain it with this body cam right here. Take a look. So, all right, so if we go and look at this puppy right here.
So as long as you stay back.
I'm going to look at it.
And they came up right here at the Whites, and it seemed like they were still mildly partying, but they didn't see anyone coming or going. They didn't cross paths with anybody.
Okay, so this is 100% not Snyder. No way, fucking, no shape, no how. We're about to find out who that is. Now, right here.
A notepad. Yeah.
Here they come.
We got any?
Camera,
Yeah.
the footage back. Can you figure it out? I didn't want to screw it up, so here's the SD card.
Okay, I really appreciate that.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you need anything else, let us
Yeah,
know.
we will. And did the other officer get your name already?
Yeah, we got
And that would be Snyder. So right here.
Okay.
So what would have had to happen here is that Gunderson
Yeah, so
would have had to.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
It is crazy. So,
Watch me.
and there's like nothing, no camera. I mean, it's just other than this one, this is the only one we found.
He's saying there's no cam. He's about to say that there's no cameras around here. Okay. I cannot believe he's saying that. He hasn't. Where have you gone to see if there's cameras, or how do you know that? Well, because I deal with other cases in this area, and none of these people have cameras. Okay. So he's basically saying like, there's no cams. Oh, I mean, except for like whatever this is. But watch this.
So,
He puts it back in his freezer.
I have an
the
adapter.
adapter things.
Listen to this.
Do we have a little fucker like this? One of the little
I have an adapter.
adapter things. I'm gonna fucking lose it.
He said, I'm gonna fucking lose it. Like, do we have? He doesn't even know what to do with this shit. Oh, do we have like an adapter for this or something?
I secured in my car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in my car on the printer.
Yeah, I'll check with Roger and see if he's
Okay, so there it is. Everybody can see it. Gunderson gets this SD card. So again, in Snyder's report, I spoke with the residents at 111 King Road, informed me that they had a camera facing the west of the address that they believe captures a portion of the road. They first provided me with the SIM card out of the camera. No, they did not. Everybody understand that? Where did they do that at? They first provided me, Ryan Snyder, K9 dog, cop, with the SIM card out of the camera. However, they could not get it to work, and neither could I. Get it to work how and in what? Okay. So this is what Snyder says. Now, the question that Ann Taylor would need to ask if this was ever to go to trial, right? If you guys wanted to get that trial, you would be saying, now, Mr. Snyder, when did you get this SIM card? I would play this video and I would say, is that you? No. And I would show the handoff from the people at the house giving it to giving it to Gunderson, and Gunderson putting it in his car. Okay, or his cruiser. Pause it and then say, "Okay, so did you get a SIM card before 4:00? What's the timestamp on here? 12:50, 2:57. And then when did you guys try it out that it didn't work? So let me get this straight. You did that before and it didn't work, but the girls then brought it to Gunderson? No. And then, so did they give you a different, are there two cameras? I'd just be fucking with him at that point. I would say, okay, so they first provided me with the SIM card out of the camera. However, they could not get it to work, and neither could I. They gave me the username and password. Did you hang on to this? So you gave the SIM card back to them, but you took the username and the password? When do you think that happened? And then you said, I informed Detective Mowry of the information, and they gave me permission to access the camera footage and record the necessary surveillance video. Mr. Snyder, you wore your body cam. Where are you getting this camera footage that they're supplying you with an SD card? Like, Anyways, bottom line is that because I'm making this documentary, I wanted to put this out to you guys, right? Hey, anybody out there can provide me with the body cam footage of when Snyder is being handed the SD card. Email me a timestamp because it does not occur. So what one should ask themselves is, why would Snyder be saying this in his report? And then why in Gunderson's report is he not mentioning the SD card? And then what's really crazy is that it was literally Ryan Schneider mentioning it that we're able to blow up Maury's story, which is acting like he does not know anything about this camera, and then has to write it in his report on 11/19 and backtrack and walk it back. So, again, this is why Ann Taylor was saying that there's huge admissibility issues. And if we've looked, and now we have her trial brief, right? We have Ann Taylor's trial brief, which, by the way, I was shocked to see these briefs. These briefs are fucking horrible. Both sides. Absolutely dog shit. Ann Taylor thinks the whole damn case is basically inadmissible. That's what I gathered from her brief. And I'm over here just wondering, though, so where's the SD card? Let's go to... I'll tell you what, some of these names, if this was ever to go to trial, are absolutely hilarious. Like, here we go, defendant's brief. State's brief. So Ann Taylor basically says that, well, okay. Mr. Kohberger learned of undisclosed discovery during the suppression hearing and was refused access. As such, Mr. Kohberger contends that that IGG evidence should be excluded because he could not fully understand and litigate the issues. That's a very important sentence. At this time, the state has agreed to proceed without using the IGG evidence and introduce evidence of a generic tip. Both sides are working towards an agreement upon special jury instructions on the tip evidence to avoid speculation by the jury as to the source and nature of the tip. This was filed on April 14th, 2025. Ann Taylor clarifies some stuff. Well, if I'm Ann Taylor, I'm over here saying 11112 is out. Like, we aren't. What? Remember the whole vehicle identification? And she was like adamant. She's like, I don't want people referring to suspect vehicle 1 as it's all the same car because there's not continuous footage. So she tries to clear this up, and she says, here, I can put it on the screen. So again, that's just a huge issue I have with Schneider's now report. Schneider's report is actually it's way more interesting than it was when I thought it was interesting. It's like 10 times more interesting now. His report is just literally, you could have a field day with it. Okay. The vehicle. Exclusion of the state referring to all surveillance footage they intend to offer as the suspect vehicle 1. That was the whole purpose of this. I don't know if she didn't explain it right, but she was just saying, hey, I don't want people coming up to think that they're going to testify that all of these headlights and these passing bys and in vehicles that they see wherever, that this is all suspect vehicle 1. Okay. Like that was the whole point of what she wanted in the motion in limine about. Okay. So with that said, she says, Mr. Kohberger sought to exclude this evidence pursuant to specific rules of evidence and based on his federal and state constitutional rights. His motion was not directed at the testimony of the state's expert, but rather to exclude the state from arguing and other witnesses from saying that all depictions of vehicles were the same vehicle. Now, arguing means you're not going to go in. That means you're opening, you're closing, like arguing it. Selling it to the jury that all these vehicles that you're going to see is all the same car. The only person that should be opining on that is the expert. Where it was going to get real interesting is when Anne was going to ask questions like this. I mean, I hope that she'd be saying something like this. So, who sent you, Immel? Who sent you the videos, the clips for you to look at? Who sent you those? Okay. Who sent you the videos? How did they know, if they're not an expert, what vehicles they should be sending you to look at that they think look like? I mean, how did this all work? You know, you have just Joe Schmo is looking at surveillance and sending it to you. I mean, wouldn't you be just getting the, hey, here's from 3:30 to 4:30. Well, yeah, they did that at first, but I told them that, or he could say that's not how they did it. But basically, you'd want to say, okay, this is the camera from 1112 King, which is right next to the crime scene, right? I guess I have to show you these clips. You didn't identify any vehicle from this video angle, the balcony, right? Correct. Every time in your report, you are saying that you cannot make an identification because of the blooming light, right? That's correct. Okay. So did you have any idea where, when you'd be sent a video, where it was located and and what time, or were you just provided, here, can you give me the make and model of this? Okay. So every vehicle that was sent from the balcony to you, you couldn't identify, right? So therefore, and you told them that, correct? So did you take any part in writing the probable cause affidavit? So the 6 loops around, that would be from the blooming light, right? Do you understand, depending on what information this guy was given, to his ability to answer any of this shit? Because the way that his report makes it seem like, and the way that they asked Officer Payne questions, and they asked him very specifically, well, what were the nicknames that you gave these videos? Because you're providing stuff to an expert that's what she was trying to get out of him. Okay, well, you put in this probable cause, like suspect vehicle 1, and it's all these sightings. Okay, but really, suspect vehicle 1 had one sighting, which was the Ridge Road camera. And that's it. And it's at 401. Do you see how Ann Taylor failed in her argument to the court, in my opinion, because if she would have argued it differently, I think that she wins that argument. But I think that she also kind of did because Hitler said that, I mean, he basically told the state how they have to go about it. That's what happened. Basically, you need to go straight to an expert. You need to go straight to an expert to start talking about the path of travel. But see, that's the problem, is there's no foundation. It lacks foundation to have the expert just talk about it. How are they going to lay foundation with the expert? Because the foundation came from getting, where did you get the video? How did you pick out these little snippets? After reading Ann Taylor's this trial brief, she basically says the entire case is, we're objecting to everything. And I'm like, that's why I wrote a little post today and I said, Ann Taylor restored my faith in her shit, because she's just like, dude, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you, Hitler. I'm just not. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. Okay. We know what we know, and we know what they can't prove. And yep, you're the judge. You're supposed to be the referee. Okay. But it's going to be clear as day when we're objecting. And if you want to say, overruled, sustain, if you're not going to give me the calls, we're going to eventually get them one day, because this is absolutely crazy. And how I know that is because of what she says here. She says, based on the court's questioning, Mr. Kohberger must be able to explore with Special Agent Immel the year range he was most comfortable with based on the 1125 Ridge Road footage, which videos allowed identification of makes and models, and which videos caused him to focus on a 2014 to 2016 years. Right here. It's in black and white. Ann Taylor wasn't stipulating to anything. And remember, I was waiting to get, hey guys, let's see what this tip was going to be. Let's see this generic tip. Okay. You guys, I just died when I read this. I'm like, how is Detective Payne going to testify to fucking anything? Like, no, you didn't. What are you talking about, man? That's why Ann Taylor asked all those questions in those hearings and got them on the record. And that's why she was like, let me pull up this. Where is it? The tip. Just the tip. She's like, yeah, get this out of my face. This isn't going down like that. You can't really you cannot have a generic tip in this case. The parties' joint proposed jury instruction regarding tip leading to investigation of the defendant. I was like so excited to get this, but I'm like, the fuck? So if you go to, in April of 2025, the order memorializing oral rulings on the motion limine, the court advised the parties to meet regarding a jury instruction to explain the tip that caused law enforcement to investigate defendant. The parties have agreed on this doesn't make sense. The parties have agreed on the proposed jury instruction below, which relates to the testimony of Moscow Police Department Corporal Brett Payne. The state intends to ask foundational questions of Corporal Payne to elicit the testimony addressed in the proposed instructions. Specifically, the state intends to ask, 1, whether law enforcement received tips that it investigated between November 13th, 2022 and December 19th, 2022. 2, if any of those tips had been substantiated. And 3, if law enforcement received a tip on December 19th, 2022 that caused them to investigate the defendant. This is how they were going to lay foundation, okay, so that Officer Payne could say, yes, yes, and then yes. Defendant does not stipulate to part 1 and 2. Do you guys see that? And I said, oh boy, here it is. Ann Taylor's like, fuck out of here. So the defendant does not stipulate. That means, number 1, you're going to ask whether law enforcement received tips that it investigated between November 13th, 2022 and December 19th, 2022. That's how you think you're going to lay foundation? Yep. And then the second one is, okay, out of those tips, if any of those had those tips from November 13th, 2022 and December 19th, 2022, were you able to substantiate any of those tips? Were you able to, did any of them lead you anywhere? He has to say yes. Like, what I mean by that is, well, you went and got the grub truck. People were calling about the grub truck, about the hoodie guy, right? What did you go and do? We went and followed his ass with police officers. We went and got into his apartment and, swabbed fucking shower curtains and walls and shit, right? Okay. Why? What'd you do with it after that? What'd you do? Did you develop a profile? Did you upload it to CODIS? No. Well, you didn't? No. We can't do that. What do you mean? Okay. I mean, did you compare it to what? What did you compare it to? The sheet that wasn't a match. But you didn't compare it to anything else. No. But you had blood at the scene, right? Why wouldn't you compare it to the blood at the scene? Remember what Payne says? Because we were already onto the defendant? Well, but that's not accurate. You knew that there was blood at the scene that was not the match of the sheath, and you knew that on December 17th, right? Like, basically the argument here is that I'm going to have to object, and then I'm going to have to voir dire him during this to show that none of this is no, this can't be we can't stipulate to this, because we're going to have to work our asses off over here on cross-examination, and it's going to take hours for us to peel back this onion that you want to fucking eat whole. By you just thinking that you're going to ask these 3 things and say, oh, yep, whether law enforcement received tips, yep, we received. How many did you receive? You received thousands, tens of thousands of tips. So you can't, yep, and so were you able to substantiate any of the tips between November 13th and December 19th? What do you mean substantiate them? We didn't even get through them. We don't even know if we could substantiate them because we didn't go through all of them. So Ann Taylor has a problem with those 2, because then the next one is if law enforcement received the tip on December 19th, 2022 that caused them to investigate the defendant. And she doesn't have a problem with that one. And I noticed that what she has a problem with is how they plan to lay foundation to just be able to ask that question, which is if law enforcement received a tip on December 19th, 2022 that caused them to investigate defendant. You guys get that? Like, that's That's the issue. That's why Ann Taylor is saying she has a problem with the first two questions. Because if you think that I'm allowing you to lay, that I'm okay with this being the way that you're laying foundation, you've lost your fucking minds. Because she says, defendant does not stipulate to parts 1 and 2 of the anticipated testimony and reserves, because of what she means by his anticipated testimony is going to be what I just explained. And she's saying that, and reserves the right to cross-examine Corporal Payne about that testimony, but will not address IGG. So she's basically saying that I can tear that up on cross-examination, but I would be objecting to, I mean, I guess, yeah. So how many tips did you have up to that point, Detective Payne? How many reports did you write up before December 19th? How many reports did anybody in the department write up before December 19th about any of the tips? Not that many, huh? So you don't know if if anything's been substantiated or vetted or anything, right? Because you don't have any reports. You don't know. Let's talk about your reports, Detective Payne. When's the first time you wrote a report in this case? I mean, I don't know. You want me to refresh your, you want me to refresh your memory here? Like, when's the first time you wrote a report in this case? Probably, I don't know. Well, when did you write your report for the probable cause that you wrote up? Oh, probably in January after I filed it in, December. Oh, okay. Absolutely ridiculous. So the proposed jury instruction is this. You heard Corporal Payne testify that the investigation team received a tip on December 19, 2022 that caused them to investigate the defendant, Brian Kohberger. This testimony was admitted for the limited purpose of explaining what caused law enforcement to investigate the defendant. You are not to consider this testimony for any purpose other than the limited purpose of when and why law enforcement first. What are you talking about? This doesn't answer when and why. Why? People were fucking calling in tips all over the place. Why didn't you investigate that one? But how are you going to tell the jury that they're to not, hey, don't worry about it. Damn it. We've all agreed that this is how it can come in. You think they're going to be able to go back into that deliberating room and be like, all right, you guys, how the hell? Like, they're going to be so confused. The jury is would have been so confused. And I just think at that point, when you have a confused jury, juries should be saying, hey, if I'm confused, you didn't prove your case. I'm voting not guilty. This is crazy. You want me to convict a man and I don't even know how the fuck you got to him? And I'm okay with that? How would I be okay with that? But here it is. This is what people wanted in the biggest case since, I don't know, Scott Peterson, O.J. Simpson, more recently Karen Reed. I mean, this is nuts. A total shit show. So, in a trial brief, it's supposed to be like, hey, this is what you can expect. This is how we're going to be doing things. Let's take a look at something really quick. So if we go a pure shit show. So yeah, Ann Taylor's like, yeah, no, I'm not stipulating to that. So let's talk about this. This was already stipulated too, so I don't understand what's a problem here, but well, okay. Number 23 that she types out and does. I'm like, thank God she fucking mentions it. Thank God. Look at this. Okay. Warrants. Warrants have been the subject of at least 13 suppression motions ranging on topics from the arrest warrant to the search of Mr. Kohberger's apartment in Pullman. While the court has already ruled on these suppression motions, Mr. Kohberger anticipates that evidentiary issues related to the various warrants will be raised during trial in the form of inconsistent statements or the impeachment of the state witnesses. When I saw this, I said, thank God you've restored yourself with me, Miss Taylor. This entire case against Brian Kohberger is one big inadmissible piece of garbage. Again, does that make him innocent? Fuck no. But is the case against him admissible? Abso-fucking-lutely not. But this is wild. She knows it. She knows it. And right here, she calls it out. And she says, yeah, it's in black and white. How I compare, I disagree. You can compare the Karen Reed case to the Brian Kohberger case because of the judges. Karen Reed didn't get a single call in that case. Didn't get a single call to go her way. Karen Reed did not. Brian Kohberger, once it got to Ada County, did not get a single call to go his way. That's how I believe that you can compare the Brian Kohberger case and the Karen Reed case. With that said, there's nothing else to. It's not a comparable case. Karen Reed dated the person that died. Brian Kohberger doesn't know the people that he killed. So it's just a totally different. The best case that you can compare the Karen Reed case to is the Scott Peterson case. Lacey and Scott Peterson case is the best case that you can compare Karen Reed case to, in my opinion. I think it has some very interesting correlations. Back at this. So here she says, hey, she's like, additionally, the state obtained similar information through the grand jury subpoena process. Mr. Kohberger was prevented from receiving copies of the actual grand jury subpoenas and therefore does not know the scope of information obtained. He will make objections during trial based on the rules of evidence. How can he confront anything? You know, how can he confront anything, man? There was a nexus if Bev would have given the defense the phones that were all in that house on the night of the murder at the time that should have happened. Karen Reed would have even had one trial. You know, she would have had a trial. So there was a nexus there. She should have been able to get those phones. Thank God, though, Jen McCabe's stupid ass. So the investigators in the courtroom, they're fine with that. Both sides are going to have that in there. Okay. Let's go back to the beginning here with her trial brief. Again, this was in April, and she's saying the defense's inability to have it all reviewed, meaning she's saying here that she has not reviewed all of this unorganized discovery, the ongoing disputes over incomplete expert opinion disclosures, and whatever else exhibits the state lists as those it will seek. To admit at trial, the trial briefing is submitted in light of that background. The underlying alleged facts of the case are well known to the court and are not reiterated. Well, I'm actually surprised that she's not listing out anything to do with the fact that this crime was not committed by one person and that it was two, or like at least two, and multiple weapons. So she says that evidentiary issues is right where she goes after she says jury selection. She's saying that jury selection needs to be, she wants it to be held. The final juror questionnaire is yet to be determined. Mr. Kohberger has filed a motion seeking to prevent the use of the magic question and other procedures for jury selection. Mr. Kohberger filed a motion on October 16, 2024, requesting proper voir dire in his capital case. He reiterates his request for individual and sequestered voir dire as it relates to potential jury views on capital punishment, as well as case-related information. You better have had a social media guru on your... I mean, if you read all this stuff, guys, there is no way that Ann Taylor was not prepared to go to trial. Okay? It's just that obvious to me. And she's over here saying that it's just because I haven't been able to go through everything, or... I don't know. You get that feeling when you read this stuff. But right here off the rip, she says evidentiary issues. It is expected that issues surrounding relevance, remoteness, and complete defense will be raised throughout trial. Okay. And then this is where I'm just like, dude, she is making it known. We're going to be objecting like the entire time to everything. And then I said, well, no wonder why, what's his name? They have this big old list, 28 pages. Okay. Making it seem like, hey, we're so organized. These are our 28 pages worth of, these are our exhibits. Look at us. I have no idea what anybody's talking about. Like, we're so organized and we have this and we have that. And I mean, look at our Excel spreadsheet. Okay, look at this. Yeah, let's take a look at it. If it was stipulated to, if it was admitted, what was the basis for the objection? I mean, they were going to be calculating and counting on every single exhibit and what Ann Taylor was going to be doing as far as, would she be objecting to it? Would there be no objection? They were having somebody there that's going to be charting all of this. I love this organization. This is the type of stuff that I would do. But this is the kicker. You can have all of this stuff. Awesome. But guess what? It all goes back to this. What's admissible here? You have all of this stuff. Awesome. Great. What's admissible? Like, so when you're actually like looking over these, all these different breakdowns of, okay, here, series 2 is the audio and videos of anything that we have, which we'll go through. We're doing a deep dive on all of it tomorrow to go through this discovery and these docs. But Ann Taylor just comes out the gate and says, your whole fucking case, we're objecting to, because it all bleeds from the same bullshit, and it's all how you got everything. None of your people are going to be able to make any sense. Nobody knows anything because nobody did anything, right? Payne doesn't know shit. Mowry doesn't know shit. Who do you think's going to get up there and know anything? None of these people. It's very interesting. Proof of alibi, alternate perpetrators, and the exclusion of expert opinions due to incomplete expert disclosures will be an issue throughout trial as well. Oh, shit. She says, In the various motions to compel, death penalty motions, suppression motions, and motions in limine filed with the court, many evidentiary issues have been raised and will continue to be raised. Blame it on MJ says this would have been the trial of the century. It would have been, and I believe he would have walked. I believe so too, and I don't know if he is innocent. He 100%, in my opinion, would have walked. And I'm not saying that because free Brian Kohberger, he's innocent. No, I'm saying this case, just like the Karen Reed case, nobody, whoever you arrest, if you were to ever try to go and arrest somebody else in the Karen Reed case and then not be Karen Reed for John's murder, they should not be charged. They should not be found guilty either because it's such a fuck job because the investigators fucked it up. Same thing here. It's that bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. There was no investigation. Literally, the investigation stopped after IGG came back on the sheath that they're saying, and there was no care in the world of, well, God, nothing else is coming back to this person. Like, we're sure he's the guy, though, right? So such evidentiary issues include, so she goes just straight to the evidentiary issues. And it just basically talks about all the motion and limine, all the suppression stuff. It's like, we still have all these issues. It does not matter what you said. It does not matter that you denied it then. You didn't have, like, we didn't play our whole cards. Everybody understands that too. I don't believe that Ann Taylor played her whole deck. They had to slow play some stuff, and I think depending on how deep Balance wanted to get himself caught up in, I believe 100,000% we were going to witness the FBI getting caught lying very, very badly. And it does not matter Hitler's call. Hitler, call it however you want. You are going to get overturned. That's basically what this brief tells me. And so one can only ask themselves, why didn't you go to trial? Why didn't you go to trial and roll the dice if you're just going to plead guilty and spend the rest of your life in prison? And people would say, oh, well, because they're going to kill him. Well, then you're guilty. If you're scared to die, but you're innocent, like, I'm sorry, but I would never say that I killed 4 people if I did not kill 4 people. And you could say, well, Lana, you can just say that, blah, blah. Nah, I would never let my kid say it. I would never be that selfish to say that I want to spare your life. Just say that you did it, son. It's okay, baby boy. Are you kidding me? That's not how that's not how you raise your, if that's how you raise your kid, well, shame on you, but never. Never. Period. I'm just saying, think about this. Let's say he's guilty, right? Because he said he is. But let's just even say that he didn't say he was guilty. Let's say that, but he knows he's guilty, right? But he's looking at this case. Why the fuck wouldn't you go to trial? As a guilty person. As a guilty person, you could fucking walk. When has a serial killer ever gotten to do that? If you're going to be like all like, you know, going to get into the minds of a serial killer and that he's about to show you how he fucking did it and watch him get away with it. Okay. Because he, you know, he really actually left, you know, he meant to leave the sheath and he knew that people were cheating and going and doing things that they shouldn't have been doing with IGG and blah, blah, blah. Why wouldn't you go to trial? If you're guilty, why wouldn't you? And then people say, because you're a pussy and you don't want to die. Like that's what you got to the but you have all these outs. So you'd rather just live for the next 60 years in a prison cell? Think about it. Think about it all these different ways. But here, if there's ever somebody that's guilty and they actually have a chance to walk, okay, when they're looking at their case, I just think that if he said the magic question, which was, what do you think I should do, Anne? If he asked her what she thought, well, then she has to advise him. But if he never asked her what he thought or what she thought, but it's just interesting. It's interesting all the way around. Who the fuck drags this out for 2.5 years to do this? Bill Thompson, why not offer a plea deal right off the rip? Because he was feeling the pressure from the Gonsalves family. So good for you, Steve. Literally. But then in the end, Steve and his family gets fucked. Ridiculous. I went back and was, because I'm editing a bunch of stuff, and I was watching some of these videos. And do you guys remember the video that Steve did? It was one of his first sit downs. It was on 11/29/2022. And he was talking about the wounds, and he was saying that, it was really quick and that nobody suffered. Because I'm editing that piece because it's part of my documentary, and I had to stop, and it made me literally sick to my stomach watching that. They were lied to so much. What are you talking about? No one suffered. I'm talking about people, everyone was just stabbed in their sleep, and that's not what happened. It's sick. Bill Thompson's trash. Can you imagine? You've been doing this, Bill, for 33 years. So that means that you should know that the family's eventually going to find out the truth, what happened to their kid, right? And you're fine with just lying to them and then letting them find out 2.5 years later the truth about what happened to their kid and how it happened, and you lied to them. And all while they were right at the end, you cut a deal and spared the life. Think about how that would all be psychologically. When you kept telling that family that, it's disgusting. It's absolutely sick. And I think the only person that potentially did not suffer, and the person that was actually passed out and asleep, was Ethan. And it's gross. And they're the family that's over there saying, we don't want a trial. We don't want a trial. I think that's selfish. I think that's pretty selfish. Because it would be unselfish, would be, yeah, I don't want a trial. But I could see why this family does. And because of that, I'm supporting them. Why would there be why wouldn't victims' families be coming together like that? Well, because the guy that was in charge of everything literally divided every single family and lied to them. That's why. So it's absolutely sick. You're asleep? Yep. And then after probably somebody comes out after you a couple times. Do you wake up? Sure. But were you asked like, were you? Did you drown your own blood? Were you trying to like breathe and you're coughing up blood? If you actually read some of the stuff about Kaylee, it's absolutely fucking horrific. And they lied to that family. It's disgusting. It's flat out fucking sick. Here, you know what? Check it out. I'll just remind everybody about it.
Monday, writing increased security will be on site for the remainder of the semester. Steve Gonzalez on what happened that night in his first sit-down interview.
It was fast, and nobody suffered and nobody felt like that kind of pain.
2 other roommates survived on the ground.
You guys remember that interview? Yeah, people had skull fractures. Yep.
Sit-down interview.
It was fast, and nobody suffered and nobody felt like that kind of pain.
2 other roommates.
Can you fucking believe that? That was he did this interview and it aired on November 29th.
Survived on the ground floor, waking up several hours later, calling friends over when their roommates were unresponsive.
Do you know the reason why the initial concern was that a roommate was passed out?
I know the girls reached out via texting and calling, so I can only assume that by the phones being ignored, knowing how my daughter is not going to ignore calls and texting.
Officials maintain the murders happened between 3.
Dylan heard somebody screaming, running up, running down, just said it was Kaylee. Calling, nobody's answering. Yeah, but Steve, did you know about the screaming? It's not like someone just calling your phone and no one's answering, like, but you didn't, there was no noise or anything. Like, this person just, I don't know if he's talking about like the next morning, but just none of it. None of it's, if you actually go back and you watch these interviews, the information he was provided was not good. It was somebody that was lying. Okay. Some stuff was, the little trinkets. The narrative that Steve Gonsalves was given, and the other parents too. That's this state narrative. That's this grand jury narrative. The grand jury was an absolute fucking joke, and it was ridiculously it's all off of false evidence. And they knew it. They knew it. This is just so sad.
And 4 a.m. and that the first 911 call was made around noon. Just hours later, Steve was informed of his daughter's death, not by police, but by family members on campus.
Let's call Maddie. And then you realize Maddie's gone too.
Madison Mogan was Kaylee's lifelong best friend. The pair seen together in their final hours of life, laughing and ordering late-night food before getting a ride home together in what Steve described as a sorority-designated driver service.
You can't imagine sending your girl to college and then they come back in an urn.
And now, the families of the victims growing frustrated by the lack of answers.
I haven't earned the ability to grieve the way that I want to grieve. I want to be able to have justice first.
Now, Steve.
The guy that said he would get that for you lied to you. That's awesome. Way to go, Moscow, Idaho. Shit, man. Ridiculous. Ugh. Anyways. Documentary is looking good, though. Documentary is looking good. Let's go take a look back over here to Hector. Hector, what you got for me? Well, Lana, you were just talking about close that up. Yeah, that's fine. My neighbors are having a killer, literally killer Halloween party or something. They're just bumping some Genuine right now. I don't know what they're doing over there. You know, I go back and I read these again to myself, these old text messages, and listen to them talk to the officers when they, you know, the first responding officers, and like, you don't think that you're going to mention anything about texting. Like, fuck, we were texting through it. Like, oh my God, we were texting through it. Like, that would be like my type of reaction. That would be like raw and real. Like, holy shit, I'll tell you exactly when the fuck it went down. Let me get my phone because I had texted. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that would be like, no, but we don't even mention that we were texting. That we were texting the entire time. That doesn't even come out. In fact, neither person tells the first responding officers that they actually called themselves first. Bethany just goes at like 4:21 or 4:31 and starts talking about that at 4:31. Look at this. All this shit in here. Oh, nothing to see here, man. Bethany called Dylan. When the jury would hear that, curtains. You hear Kaylee at 4 o'clock. Well, let me just tell you what happened at 4 o'clock. And you did nothing for 20 minutes except for answer a call at 4:19 and 33 seconds. If all of that happened at 4. And Bethany tells you, I heard like a firecracker or something. Like, what's going on up there? Did you hear that? No. Well, let me tell you what I did hear. They told the grand jury that she was sleeping, that Dylan was sleeping and didn't get up, and that she was like awoken to Kaylee playing basically music and was hoping that she would turn it down. And she heard what she thought was Murphy and Kaylee dancing. You'd have to like see somebody dancing if you want to say that they were dancing. You don't really hear people dancing. You could assume because, oh, she's normally like, if she's listening to music and I heard Murphy but Murphy barks when Murphy dances, because I've seen TikToks and Murphy's not barking. You guys think about all of that. Get the fuck up out of here. Oh, this is just so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And then she's saying, yeah, DM to Bethany, I'm really confused. Yeah, she's confused because of what Bethany said. How can she be confused versus like, remember she told the cops, well, we didn't really think anything was going on. Nothing happens in Moscow. Bitch, you are texting that you are fucking scared. What do you mean? And then you're over here talking about people were crying. People, do you see what they wrote on here? What it seems to me is that Xana went to go put her food in the kitchen, and when she was like, I don't know, walking back, a potential encounter there. But that would have been somebody who just ate totally alive and literally in what they would call a ridiculously knockdown, drag out fight. And why would she say the first thing that she did? Oh, when she said there's someone here, and Kaylee says this, I just got up and ran to my door and locked my door. So your door wasn't locked when you went to bed. You don't sleep with your door locked. Why would you have to get up, run to your door, and lock your door? I didn't know what to do. I just I got scared, and so I just ran over and I locked my. Ridiculous. No, but I'm sorry, but a jury's not believing this. A jury's not a jury. Just like we don't believe it, and there's not even cross-examination yet. A jury is not going to be believing it after cross-examination with a cherry on top. Again, you trust me. You never wanted this. The best outcome happened for the victims only because Moscow's case was so bad that he could have walked. Yeah, a grand jury that they lied to. A grand jury that they were told that, Dylan's saving a number at 351. The grand jury wasn't told that. They have these grand jury exhibits in here. They have the grand jury timeline, the summary for Dylan. It's titled, it's absolutely ridiculous. Her phone summary. And it says next to it, it's a grand jury exhibit. And I'm like, oh God. There ain't no way you're going to be using that. You can, but it'll get blown up. It's just ridiculous. Going back over here though, these new documents. Let's talk about so after so Mr. Kohberger seeks to exclude expert testimony that is vague, undisclosed, and improper. Expert testimony and expert disclosures have been the subject of several motions, including defendant's motion to compel material for sanctions, defendant's motion to extend time, defendant's motion on limiting number 2, vague and undisclosed expert testimony, defendant's motion to preclude the death penalty. So Mr. Kohberger awaits the court's decision on his motion to exclude expert opinions due to incomplete expert disclosures, and depending on the court's decision to exclude late, vague, and undisclosed opinions, these will be ongoing issues through trial. Ann Taylor in every single one of these is saying yep, we're objecting. We're objecting. You can allow it, but we're objecting. We are objecting. Yeah. Then the next thing that she wants to mention is that inconclusive data about the statistical analysis of item 13.1 fingernail scrapings is the subject of defendant's motion. Let me number 5. Inconclusive data. Mr. Kohberger has now reviewed the state's new expert disclosure, and based on the work of both the state's expert and his own expert, he has been excluded as a source of DNA. He has been excluded. As a source of DNA. Testimony about that lab testing must comport with both experts reviewing the sample and opining that Mr. Kohberger is excluded. Mr. Kohberger understands the state's position too now because to now he, what does that say? Not typo. Understands to now be that the evidence does in fact exclude Mr. Kohberger as a source of DNA in sample 13.1. Testimony contrary to that would violate his federal and state constitutional rights to due process. Yeah. So I don't know if that's her just way of saying like, hey, those are the fingernail scrapings underneath. That's underneath Maddie's fingernails. You know, he's excluded. And so basically they've tested all these people and everybody's excluded. It's just like, whose fingernails are with Maddie and Kaylee under Maddie's fingernails that are not Brian's? And depending on if they tested these people or they just take the DNA, I don't know, because it's just so wild. You know, somebody's mixed with them and it's not him. Bizarre. Touch or contact DNA. Testimony of Riley Nolan and any testimony referencing terms of touch or contact DNA or that purports to be an opinion of the means or mechanisms for DNA being placed on the sheath by any witness called to testify about the DNA was the subject of defendant's motion limiting number 6. Mr. Kohberger sought to exclude any any use of the language touch and contact in the context of the DNA testing of the sheath and any opinion on how and when the DNA on the sheath was deposited. While the court did not enter an order excluding the language, the court's suggestion that it should not be used to avoid confusion and prejudice to Mr. Kohberger is well taken. His objection will be lodged during trial should the use of the phrase come up. So, you guys, I think that would be a huge, absolutely huge win for Brian Kohberger with that these people can't say that they're going to be using, they stipulated to like the term that they're going to use. And it's like, transfer. I just think to not say the word contact is a huge win. And nobody can be talking about how it got there. And so you know that that's going to be like Bicca Barlow's like zeroed in on. I don't know. It's amazing. Let's see. Okay, bushy eyebrows. Witness identification by bushy eyebrows is the subject of defendant's motion in limine. So again, Mr. Kohberger sought to bar witness DM from using the words bushy eyebrows or identifying him in that manner. He also sought to keep the state from acting as an identifying witness by attempting to bolster DM's testimony with a photo of Mr. Kohberger taken the next morning of November 13th, 2022, and arguing that it is their interpretation that the bushy eyebrows described by DM are consistent with those in that photo. I completely agree with this. This is absolutely absurd. Okay. That is the most subjective thing ever. If somebody has like bushy eyebrows or not, to say that term. I'm sorry, but I would be asking all of her friends, so what type of guy does DM like? Does she like somebody with bushy eyebrows? Does she is that even like a characteristic that it would have to stick out so much to say that this person, because every fucking guy to me has thicker eyebrows, thick bush. I mean, but for like, even in the PCA, to say Corporal Payne saying that after looking at Brian Kohberger's photo from his ID, yep, he has bushy eyebrows. Are you fucking kidding me? Payne, I don't give a fuck what you think. Because it has nothing to do with what you think. It's consistent with bushy eyebrows. Huh, it is? Wow. I don't think it is, but Again, not saying that he's not the killer. I'm saying that that's just like, this is ridiculous. We're gonna convict people off of something like that. Come on, man. Like, can you imagine being in the deliberating room and talking about, well, she said bushy eyebrows, and look at, he's got bushy eyebrows. If anybody in that deliberating room was to say that to me and I was a juror, I would say, you gotta be fucking kidding me, right? I don't even care if he fucking has bushy eyebrows. I would never be like, yep, I'm in. Do you understand? If you let that in, then basically it's like, all right, well, I guess we get to go just destroy Dylan again here, because she never used the term bushy eyebrows, right? In fact, a different time she said that she couldn't even see what color eyes he had, or I guess we're gonna have to go into everything that you said. You thought he was a firefighter, right? You thought he. And then why did you think that he was carrying an arrow? You said you overheard an officer talking about him like an arrow. And now look at all these designs that you draw eyes all the time. Like, come on, man. Like, that's just ridiculous. I think you're putting Dylan Mortensen in a horrible position. It's not the same kid. It's whoever is saying that's not the same person. We've already like deep dived that way long ago. They have the same name. It's not the same person. Let's see what else. I think it's just so. Should the court allow this testimony procedure, Mr. Kohberger will be objecting during trial. Yeah, don't you? Objection calls for speculation. Like, if any, like, I don't. Did they give her an eyebrow lineup, like they did to Lacey Peterson? Give her sister the pants lineup. Bunch of idiots over there in Modesto in Moscow. Bunch of morons. Let's see. Oh, I don't know why she's bringing this 404B up. The evidence that has been the subject of a note of notice, a motion, and a stipulating, including the state's notion. So they were going to do. The parties are not to mention the 2014 cell phone incident. Listen here, motherfuckers. We're not going to be talking about this cell phone, okay? That Brian stole from his sister and took it to a kiosk and sold it for drugs. You hear me? Are we understanding each other? We're not going to be talking about that. And then they're like, we're not even going to be mentioning that. It's like, okay, then why'd you interview Amanda? What do you want out of her ass? In response to the defense motion, okay, blah, blah, blah. Additionally, in a sealed stipulation, the parties agreed not to mention a 2014 cell phone incident during trial. That incident involved Mr. Kohberger taking his sister's cell phone to a kiosk at a mall in exchange for money. His father called the police, the end result of which was a minor theft charge that was later expunged. You know what, though? I kind of would want it in. You want to know? I think I would want it in. Because it shows that the dad called the police on his ass. Okay, well, why didn't the dad call the police on his ass? He had a white Elantra. He was in the area. He's got bushy eyebrows. He's 6 feet. We didn't know all that then, though. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you can kind of like show in a different light to say, well, Mr. Kohberger clearly doesn't have a problem calling the cops on his kids. Anyways, I don't know. Mr. Kohberger will object and follow with an appropriate motion. Any other act evidence the state is seeking to introduce that is unnoticed, Mr. Kohberger will rely on state versus Whitaker, will be objecting. So, I think that would mean, how are you going to bring in, let's talk about this. How in the fuck are you going to bring in these people from WSU to talk about, Brian's behavior, like the students? How's that going to come in? Dude, my neighbors are going at it. I love it. They're having a big old party. Need to go over there. Let's see. Amazon click activity. Check this out. Excluding Amazon evidence, purchase history, and Amazon click activity. That was at number 9, right? The state's methodology. Thank you for using that word. I was wondering when this was going to come up. I was like, can we please? Thank you. Finally seeing it. Okay, gotta highlight it. The state's methodology. Boom. Finally. The state's methodology in obtaining, using, and producing Amazon evidence has been called into question by Mr. Kohberger, who contends that this evidence, how they obtained it and producing Amazon evidence has been called into question by Mr. Kohberger, who contends that this evidence should be excluded. To the extent the court allows the evidence, Mr. Kohberger must be able to present expert testimony of David Howell to provide a complete defense. Based on the court's ruling that this evidence will not be excluded at this juncture, Mr. Kohberger will confront the evidence through expert testimony. Now, remember, this is the big part to take away. He will also object to any expert opinion testimony by Mr. Shane Cox or Michael Douglas, as the state claims they are lay witnesses, not experts. And so I'm just like, I don't even think Amazon's getting in. I'm telling you, these people just can't get up there, and they're not an expert in something. That means you can't give an opinion on what you think something means. Let's go on to Ann Taylor says the 911 recording and transcript. It just takes us right back down memory lane. Hitler can allow whatever he wants. I'm saying that I'm talking about appeal. Go ahead. Let it all in. Let it all in. Let it all in. I mean, I'd be preparing for it to be in, and I would have really good cross questions to make people look silly. 911 recording and transcript. The recording and transcript of the 911 call to Whitcomb on November 13th, 2022 was the subject of the sealed state's motion in limine. Relying on exceptions to the hearsay rule and effect on listener, the state seeks the admission of both the transcript and the recording. Based on his constitutional rights, Mr. Kohberger objects to the admission of the transcript and the recording. How do you guys feel about that? I was listening to it again. It's in the beginning part of the documentary, and you know, let me listen to it, right? But there are times during it when you like look back and you think about it that, okay, like, can I just tell you what happened at 4:00? What? Can I just tell you what happened at 4:00? Well, you didn't want to tell anybody what happened at 4:00 when you were up, but now you know what happened at 4 o'clock, but you didn't think that I mean, what the fuck's going on here? But I definitely don't want it typed up, because unless somebody truly knows what that person's saying verbatim, I was even looking at it like people were getting the words wrong. Like, is somebody even saying something about Kaylee? Like, what do you guys think about it? Like, I just think it's. Can you please stop passing the phone around to the fourth person? Like, it's just, it's the most bizarre 911 call. It's not as bizarre as I think Greenberg's 911 call is pretty fucking crazy, and I think that it comes like second to that for me. Why were they passing the phone around? How about that? Can I ask you why you were passing the phone around? Like, why wouldn't it just be 911? We need somebody here. I don't know. My roommate's unconscious. I have no idea what's going on. Hurry up. We need help. There's blood. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. I'll tell you when you would pass the phone around. You'd pass the phone around when what? You don't want anything to do with it. But you don't know what you're not wanting anything to do with, though. That doesn't make sense. There's nobody like let's see. I wouldn't want the transcripts. I wouldn't want the transcripts. Alibi. Alibi evidence is a subject of various notices, discovery responses, and motions. On July 24, 2023, Mr. Kohberger filed his notice of alibi. Pursuant to court order, Mr. Kohberger filed a notice of defendant's supplemental response to the state's alibi demand. Okay? Awesome. Mr. Kohberger's alibi has been the subject of a motion to compel. Most recently, the state filed a motion in limine alibi. Mr. Kohberger has met his statutory obligation of provide the state notice of corroboration of his partial alibi. Mr. Kohberger stated on the record his concern about the state commenting on his constitutional rights to remain silent. He will make an appropriate motion should these comments be made in front of his jury. So basically, this is all about, you're not going to say, Mr. Kohberger doesn't have an alibi. Mr. Kohberger has never talked, like stuff like that. Because if Anne's going to argue and say, well, if you go off of what the state's telling you, they're telling you that the crime happened between this time and this time. But what are they truly basing that off of? Well, Mr. Kohberger has an alibi from this time to this time, and that's when we believe the crime actually happened. And it wasn't until, they were saying that the crime happened between 3 and 4. And now all of a sudden it's in a 2-minute window. Because they have to make it fit perfectly with where his phone is pinging. You know, Bill Thompson was going to say, why doesn't BK just tell us where he was, you know? Right? He's just a fucking idiot. But I would just be saying that, you know, I'll tell you this, though. They were totally all in on saying that that 302 car that is passing Floyd's cannabis is fucking the suspect vehicle. And it's so fucking not. It is so fucking not. It is so not the vehicle. It's so not. When I was looking through this, I was like, God damn. I said, then where is it coming out the other way when it should be just coming right into town? It doesn't get caught on any of the main streets. Again, if he's a killer, I think he went around the same way that he came around. And if he turned his phone on, chances are he could have been lost. I still wouldn't have turned my phone on. I'd have been lost for fucking hours before I turned that fucking phone on. I mean, Jesus. Everybody wondering, why does his phone come back on at 4:48? Well, I don't know, but I'll tell you this. I'll be lost until 9 a.m. Okay? Before I turn that phone back on. What a fucking idiot if that's the case. And what a pussy. What, you couldn't be in the dark? Like, I'm sorry, but he fucking said he killed 4 fucking people, man. The fuck you say that for if you didn't? And then I'm also blown the other way saying, well, fuck, if you are guilty, how don't you roll the dice? Because shit, you could have walked. Because this case is illegal as fuck. You know? And so I'm over here like, God, if he's such a narcissist or he's such this or he's such that, and he's so the smartest guy in the room, and well, why would he go out the way that he would go out? You know? Well, ridiculous. I would hope an innocent person would too. I hope you wouldn't give up on yourself. Okay. Going to prison for the rest of your life is basically a death sentence. Okay. I'm sorry, but Jesus. I'd be telling Ann, or if I was Ann, I believe in his innocence. I'm over here being like, dude, we got this in the bag. You're not pleading. Why would you plead? First of all, you're saying you're innocent, right? I believe that you're innocent. And hey, even if we lose this first go around because Hitler's a piece of shit and not giving you any calls that you should be getting because they violated our rights. But not only that, then you got this fucking FBI people lying. You got the fucking prosecutors lying. That shit's going to come out. You're going to get it on appeal. Okay. Like, right? I mean, what the fuck kind of meetings are they having? Jesus Christ. Fucking kumbaya over there? Like, the hell are you people doing over there? He's probably fucking just waxing his fucking shoes all day. Sounds great, Ann. I'm just gonna sit here and clean my shoes and crease my pants. And can you get me some? Can you give me some more soap? I mean, I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't have gone to trial. You know. What are we changing my mind on? No. You're not going to change my mind that he pled guilty because of his fucking mom and his dad. Fuck, you think he gives a dude? No. They may care like that about him. No. Oh, something definitely doesn't add up. Something definitely doesn't add up. Maybe Brian wants to go down rather than being. Maybe he says to himself, "Well, I'd rather go down thinking people thinking that I'm like a serial killer versus that I, teamed up with some tweaker fucking meth heads and we thought we can go in there and rob a house and steal a bunch of shit and fucking stuff went sideways." And that's not what I want to come out. I mean, I don't know. It's like fucking A. I just, woo. What does the criminology student that doesn't possibly think that he's going to get caught? And then if you get caught, like, what's your plan? What's your defense? What are you going to do? I'll just plead. Oh, he never thought that far because he doesn't fucking thought he would, he didn't think he was going to get caught. I don't know about all that. I think that he thought about it because of the way he fucking meticulously did it if he did do it. Okay? Come on, man. Look at Karen Reed. She plea? No. Look at fucking Scott Peterson. He plea? No. That motherfucker's innocent. It's all gonna come out, and I love every second of it. Fuck Modesto. Dirty fucking cops. That fucking prosecutor was banging the lead detective. What a pig. And so is I hope it all comes out. I hope their fucking marriages fucking fall apart. Disgusting. They had such a hard on for Scott Peterson, man. How do you bury a date? How do all of these people just sign off on it too? How do you bury the date of an actual burglary that happened and say, yeah, no, that burglary didn't happen on the 24th. It happened on the 26th, and tell the jury that and get these dudes to sign off on confessions that said, yeah, we committed the crime on the 26th. When, when they came home, the day they came home, with all the vans out there that are just running 24/7 news broadcasting over there on Covina Court Avenue, wherever the hell they were. We can agree to disagree on guilt, at least here. Oh, hell yeah. Wait for it. That trial is coming. Scott Peterson's getting a new trial. Tell you what, that's Brian's chance. If he's innocent, he needs to call up the Los Angeles Innocence Project. There's DNA in this case. I mean, he could try to see who that DNA belongs to, but shit. Woo-wee. Oh, next. So either Yep. Camera 1, 3:02 in 12 seconds, and then 3:02 in 19 seconds in the morning is the Floyd cannabis video, camera 1 and camera 2, where they're saying that they see this white, suspect vehicle 1. And then 787 at 3:25 on Indian Hills, and then 7:55 on Indian Hills at 3:26 and 23 seconds. It's very interesting because we're going to talk about how Ann Taylor's over here like none of this is admissible. It's wild. How the hell does this Ring camera, this Nest camera over here, okay, have no timestamp? Okay, 3:25 a.m. and it's but there's no timestamp. How do you know it's at 3:25 a.m.? These addresses are literally right next to each other. Okay, how are you on a camera at 3:26 and 23 seconds and then 3:26 and 42 seconds? Are you fucking smoking crack? These houses are like right next to each other. They don't take that long to get from that point to that point. I don't know if Mark B's still in here. Mark B, we've been working on this shit forever, man. Like, and then when I saw that this says that there's no timestamp at the first one, no wonder why Ann Taylor has issues. She wanted to know where the hell who was going over there asking and searching for videos over here on Indian Hills. That's not where you guys were asking for any video. You miraculously were just like, let's go and ask people on Indian Hills if they have camera footage at that time, and voila, they do. And well, look at it right here, 325. You need the exact date that Danny Vargas went and did this, okay? Because you're going off of, hey, the Ridge Road car that's coming. Well, you guys were looking at that. Yeah, well, we saw one at, how did you get to the 401? What came first, 401 that you were looking at, or 320, 9? And it's the 401. Then they decided, when they started looking more at it, they're like, oh shit, what are these vehicles that keep circling the place? Well, according to your undercover cops, it's them. They're the ones that were circling the joint. They're the ones that said that they made numerous laps around that house. I don't know. But this is wild to me that this first one doesn't have a timestamp. I've never seen a Ring camera that doesn't have a timestamp. I've never heard of a Nest camera that doesn't have a timestamp. Have you guys, who has surveillance cameras? It's the whole purpose that we have this stuff for. Like, how do you not have a timestamp on the one? How is that even possible? Please don't tell me it's the one that you can actually like see the car versus the other ones that you can just see like headlights. Yes, absolutely, 100%. But guess what? Out of those 30%ers that confess, they're confessing usually without a lawyer, okay? And it's not part of a plea deal to not have the death penalty, basically, okay? So out of the 30%, I'm a numbers person all day. And I would agree with you. Dude, people confess without lawyers, and because there's wrong, that's hello, people. Yeah. It's not what happened here, though. The motherfucker had a defense team, okay, that filed and that preserved all of these avenues for an appeal. And then you're just going to walk away from all those avenues. And when you see that if you're going to say that he's so smart and he knows all this stuff, then he knows that his rights were violated. And why isn't he demanding? And if he's, such a hot-tempered son of a bitch that people want to say that he's, thinks he's the smart, then why would you ever, if he's what everybody says he is out there, that would not go with somebody that's going to go and plead guilty. It's very bizarre, if you ask me. Okay. What people are trying to say that he is and what he did here, in my opinion, are opposite. Atlanta, 18% of all exonerated people had taken plea deals according to the Innocence Project. Yes, when did they get their attorney, though? Did they have an attorney? I want to know about, like, attorneys. How long? So... If Brian Kohberger comes out and says, I took a plea deal because I didn't want to die and I'm going to fight to clear my name now, because on death row, I wouldn't be able to use the law library. I wouldn't be able to do anything. Those words, and I'll give it to you. I was told there's a birdie that told me that Ann Taylor has already contacted, this was like a while ago, that Ann Taylor has already contacted the Innocence Project for Brian. Again, don't know if that's true or not. Don't care. I like to look at this from the standpoint of is, wow, Utah must just have fucking money to burn. So the FBI has been lying and cheating in cases, and I thought that this was going to be a case where we were going to be able to show the world that this is what's happening and that this needs to stop. And here it goes to a plea deal so that the FBI gets fucking saved by the bell again. And it's really starting to piss me off. And Cast was lying. Okay, Cast was lying. Like that shit that they were saying when the phone shut off, and the records that they have. Nick Balance lied. You got an arrest because they lied. How many cases do you think that has happened? And that can't come out because if Nick Balance goes out and shows the world that he's a huge fucking liar, which is what would have happened, then someone like a Lori Daybell goes free. You know, Chad Daybells of the worlds. It's no different than Michael Proctor. But you know what? It should happen. And that's what would make the world stop allowing people in power to fuck around. Fuck around and find out. So then I know that sucks for the families to hear that. But then guess what? Go fucking sue their asses. You know? But it's just this preventing the plea, love the name Psy, it needs to stop. Because what that plea did is it prevented us, the people, from knowing what truly happened in that case. And I'm telling you, it's happening all over. And it's happening to innocent people. And then what's happening? Innocent people are being railroaded and found guilty. Or innocent people are what? Being railroaded and I'm going to take a plea. I just think that he should have went to trial. Innocent or guilty, this should have went to trial, right? Maybe that's why Brian's dad wasn't there. Brian's dad's like, what the fuck? I'm not going to that, sentencing. Why didn't his dad go? Why isn't that talked about more? Maybe his dad was scared of Steve G. I don't know. Maybe his dad was like, I'm good on that shit. I'm good on that. I would love to hear the real story as to why Brian Kohberger didn't fly home for the holidays, why he would drive home. I would love to know the real story on why Mr. Kohberger flew out there, when that really truly came about, right? How dare anyone tell America how here to How about this? How awesome are these fucking investigators that Hitler hired and this special prosecutor? They can't find the leak. They can't find the leak. Go ask Othram, man. Maybe Othram can help you. How come we can't find the leak? The fucking leak to Dateline. Oh, God. Oh, God. Who's the guilty party? Fucking idiots. I think we should all write about it. Like, what a bunch of, this is how you guys don't know you guys don't know who's responsible for the leak. Now my neighbors are all dancing on poles outside. Nobody cares who the leak is, Lana. I care who the leak is. Oh, speaking of crazy shit, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Nick Balance. Let's talk about the AT&T shit that came out. What a dipshit he is. So the day before the hearing in April 8th, the hearing was on the 9th. I think it was over here. I'll just pull it up. The state leaked. Remember I was telling you all about Ed Jacobson? Ed Jacobson signed off on Balance's bullshit. I was like, who's Aubrey Scott and who are some of these people? Hold on. Did you guys see these jury instructions? We'll go deep diving tomorrow. I just want to pull up this. I want to pull up this AT&T shit. This little fucker. They're like playing all the old school shit next door. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. They were going to use a ton of grand jury exhibits, by the way. Dylan Morrison's phone record summary. It was a grand jury exhibit. It was from 1:04 or 2:10 a.m. until 1:04 p.m. Summary. They were going to use a K-bar knife and sheath sample. Predict. Here we go. Boom. Okay. So this was filed after Sire and he filled out his like affidavit and everything like that. Make this as big as possible. And this just got released. And so take a look. So now comes Brian Kohberger by and through his attorneys of record and hereby files under seal Exhibit 4 in support of their objection to the state's motion limine RE AT&T timing advanced records. Exhibit 4 is Certificate of Authenticity of Records, FBI report from SA Balance, and screenshot of records provided to the defense. Okay. And April 3rd, 2024. Do you guys see this date? Okay. This is the defense getting their own certificate of authenticity of domestic records pursuant to federal rules of evidence 902.11 and 902.13. Okay. So when Gordon went and did whatever he did for the state, hold on, let me. the date that he did that was in March. He did stuff also like in April, but I want to show you guys. I'm trying to make this bigger. Okay, here. Okay. So I, Stephen Gordon, attest under penalties of perjury by the laws of the United States of America pursuant that the information contained in this certificate is true and correct. I am employed by AT&T and my title is Director Compliance. I am qualified to authenticate the records attached here too because I am familiar with how the records were created, managed, stored, and retrieved. I say that the records attached here too are true duplicates. Duplicates. Okay, see that? True duplicates of the original records in the custody of AT&T. I further state that all records attached to the certificate were made at or near the time of the occurrence of the matter set forth by or from information transmitted by a person with knowledge of those matters. They were kept in the ordinary course of the regularly conducted business activity of AT&T, and they were made by AT&T as a regular practice. Again, all records attached to the certificate were made at or near the time of the occurrence of the matter set forth by or from information transmitted by a person with knowledge of those matters. Such records were generated by AT&T's electronic process or system that produces an accurate result, to wit, the records were copied from electric or electronic devices, storage mediums, just highlight that, or files in the custody of AT&T in a manner to ensure that they are true duplicates of the original records. Make it all green. The process or system is regularly verified by AT&T and at all times pertinent to the records certified here, the process and system function properly and normally. Okay. April 3rd, 2024. Not 25, 2004. So she's, here you go. And then Anne attaches okay. Now. Oh, Donna, look out for some vodka. For some vodka. Thank you there, Donna. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Melissa, welcome. How you doing, Melissa Beck, if you're listening? Eddie, welcome. Crystal Amber, 10 months, baby, first baby. Cheers. Bluebird, member for 6 months. Bluebird, $4.99. Oh my goodness, this app will not let me pay to send no message. I'm in your state. Let's go. Come to Caesars. Come to Caesars. I don't know. What do you mean, Caesars? What state are you talking about? I'm not in Alabama. Lana, please watch an Alabama solution, guys. We are needed. Great. What? Okay. Send me an email. Bluebird 711. You're great. Send me an email. I don't know what that's about, but thank you again, Donna. Appreciate that. Okay. Back at this. Bad bitch right here. All right. So I was like, what the hell's Ann got up her sleeve here? Well, this is a Federal Bureau of Investigation, Electronic Communications, Unclassified title to document additional records from AT&T. So Nick Balance drafted this. And I said, oh, will you believe that? I said, who is this approved by? Oh, give me a different color. Thank you. You guys, who has said the name to you? Ed Jacobson. This bitch right here. this bitch right here. I was gonna wait till tomorrow, but I just gotta grind it a little bit. Ed Jacobson. Ed Jacobson. Tisk tisk. So drafted by Nick Balance and approved by Jacobson. Those are just two peas in a pod. Case ID. Well, cast. So the FBI did this, right? Brian Christopher Kohberger. He's the subject. Okay. And then we have Moscow Police Department is assistants. We're giving them the assistants. We have Ethan, Maddie, Xana, and Kaylee. They are the victims. The victims of what? Extortion? What? When were they the victims of extortion? Or overt threats? And what was this for? Well, in 2024, I wrote up a report saying how we needed to get additional records from AT&T. So I wrote up this report because this is what I said that we needed. We needed additional records. And it's because we're investigating what? Extortion? Well, this is just what we're going to say. And so to document additional certified records received from AT&T. Additional. Okay? Additional, to document additional certified records from AT&T. Enclosures. Enclosed are the following items. AT&T records. On April 3rd, 2024, CAST, Certified Special Agent Balance, received additional certified records from AT&T. Why? Why? Why would you need to receive additional records? Wait, but I thought that... Wait, what is he saying over here? The records were copied from, okay, either electronic devices, storage mediums, or files in the custody of AT&T in a manner to ensure that they are true duplicates of the original records. Okay. Okay. I state that the records attached here to are true duplicates of the original records. In the custody of AT&T. Well, these records will be attached to the 1A section of this serial. I checked that number. And I checked this number. And I checked this number. And this is Showalter, Xana, and Maddie. Why in 2024 would you be checking Showalter? Okay, ready? Well, I'll just wait to tell you guys tomorrow. It's fine. I'll explain what I think they did here. Why in the world would you ever write something up that if you were trying to say that on April of 2024, okay, that you're acting like you needed to get additional records, okay, for extortion. Why are we saying that this is the reason that we would need to get records for overt threats, extortion? And why the fuck, where's Jack Showalter coming on this? Why? I mean, this is absolutely crazy. Why would timing advanced and we need it? We have this geofence and then that we had, and then our timing advanced, and we need additional information. But I thought we already got their timing advanced. We already got Maddie's timing advanced. We already got Xana's timing advanced. We already got Showalter's timing advanced during, within the 7 days, okay? For, like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about additional? You have to keep preserving things, by the way. So, but what do you... Extortion? Are you just making shit up now? Are you just making this up? What the hell are they doing? What the hell are they doing? What the hell is the FBI doing? What are they trying to... Are they lying about why they need these records? Are they making something up here? There you go, Maureen. Good job. Love it. Maureen says, this case changed my entire perspective on our judicial system, law enforcement, and country as a whole. Fair to say this case has changed me. Fuck yeah, these cases change you. You guys, did anybody this can't be real? Oh, this is real. Is this what Ann Taylor meant by about the state still investigating other people? No, I think, well, I don't know if maybe she was just trying to like make that statement because she could say that because of this at all. But this tells me, holy shit, like what the fuck did you all do? What did you do in April of 2024 to get Jack, John Showalter's AT&T timing advanced, okay, that you wouldn't have had back before, okay, because you did, right? So why are you going and getting the same records that you had before? Same thing with the victims. You had this. Did you not? Is it, I mean, are you... Why are you doing anything in April of 2024? What do you mean you're going out and getting additional records? For what? This is a bunch of lies, is what this is right here. This makes absolutely no sense. None. What would you need in April of 2024 with Jack Showalter's phone? that you don't already have? What do you need with Maddie and Xana's phones? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you talking about? Well, new phone records for the present time period past December of 2022. But these people are deceased. So you can't be having phone conversations with deceased people. Why would Jack Showalter be having phone conversations with deceased people if it was like past November 13th? Right? And I'm only answering that. New phone records for the present time period past December. I mean, let's just ask ourselves this. Like, what the fuck are you doing? What do you mean you need additional? Just read this. Read this report. This is what the report states. The report says, title, to document additional records from AT&T that I went and got. I'm just writing up like a report, and this is just to document additional records from AT&T. So, because remember, they got caught with their pants around their ankles, okay? And I think they got this by accident. The defense team got this little screenshot. And so here comes loop-de-loop, okay, balance boy, and makes this up, okay? Because on the bottom here, what we should be seeing is the date of this report. What's the date of this report? When did he write this? That's what always is on the bottom. And I noticed that it's not here. So the title, to document the additional records from AT&T that I went and got. And he's trying to say that, are you saying that you did that? Is this the date you're trying to say that you wrote this up? Because there's a difference between the date that you got something back and you did it. When did you write this report? When was this report made? This is the date that you could have done this, right? But that doesn't make sense because this is a screenshot of, and it says last modified on the 1st. God love it. God love it. Fuck yes. Little shih tzus. So what is this about? I have no idea, right? What the fuck is this? I went out and got new. I needed additional. I just went to AT&T and got additional, timing advance, geofence. Why? You got Brian Kohberger. You've been like building a case against Brian Kohberger since December 19th. Now, April of 2024, you want to go out and get additional records for Maddie and Xana and Jack Showalter? And you're doing this in 2024 for what? Because of what the goddamn defense filed. What? I'm just trying to think, like, what are you doing? What is going on? And then why are you writing down that this is about extortion? Extortion. Overt threats. What the fuck? This is Tina with What the Fuck Transition Services. What the fuck is going on? This was the proof that Cy-Ray was using, some of it anyways, not all of it. This is the proof that Cy-Ray was using to say, Hippler, what are you talking about? Look at what Nick Balance went and did on supposedly April of 2024. He went and got timing advance records, okay, for Maddie, Xana, and Jack John Showalter. He goes, it's John Showalter, but they call Jack. Oh, okay. They wanted to go back further in time. If they only got 3 months of records, maybe they wanted 6 months, 7 days, BS. I mean, bottom line is then you got Ashley Jennings, because this was filed on the 8th. I think you could see they had that hearing on the 9th of April in 2025, though. And he's over here just, this is Jennings. Preservation orders, like we have preservations. Excuse me? Preservations. Okay. They're just making shit up. They're literally just making shit up. Not funny, but funny. They got caught. Oh, they got caught so bad. And this is just like a tiny bit of it. Like, and you know what the kicker is here, guys? Is that for fucking funsies, they this bottom part always has shit written. I'll show you. For funsies. For funsies. Unclassified. Just type this up. To document additional records from AT&T. Okay. A whole year. Look at that. Nick Balance and Ed Jacobson. 2 peas in a pod. Liar. Liar. He just let Jennifer Drake. He just ate up Jennifer Drake's lies, even though there was eyewitnesses and the time of the shooting, and everybody knew that the shooting happened way before the phone call to her phone. People are pathetic. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. See you here tomorrow. We're going to go through it all, but this is absolute crap. This is just absolute crap. That's the type of stuff that I tell people when I say, hey, Brian Kohberger goes to trial. I believe that if he doesn't walk on the first go around, he walks on the second go around. Absolutely ridiculous. Extortion. Extortion. Who the fuck is extorting people? Extortion. See you on the flip side. Lucy says, the issue is they need to request duplicate data twice so that the OG data is not produced. Because if they produce any of the OG data, it will expose them. It's the parallel. It's for dates. They did it for dates. They did it for a lot of reasons, actually. But they wrote on the paper extortion. 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 Oh, shit. We'll see you in the morning. Extortion. I feel extorted, right? You know who else feels extorted? Right here. The trash pull. The trash pull on 11/27/2022. Either the exhibit is a typo or they got some big ass problems. I don't know what it is, but the trash pull. Trash. All trash. All right, guys. Nothing but love. See you on the flip side.